nobody makes work in complete isolation, and most artists make work in conversation with art history, in conversation with the culture that they're in. And this is an exceptionally interesting exhibition because we actually have a conversation going on the walls between a father and a daughter. Sometimes perhaps deliberate, sometimes almost by osmosis or intuition or happenstance. And I think it's not only a wonderful opportunity for you to discover work by two artists you might not have been familiar with, but also to see examples of how one voice can then sometimes be answered by or responded to in some way by a different voice. And it really merits careful looking and coming back to revisit it after you've had a chance to kind of let it sink in. Noelle, your dad started out as an artist. At a very young age, he was spotted by his mum to say this is a special talent. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah. Dad was born actually in West Cork. He was born in Drimoleague. So it was particularly nice to bring work back to West Cork. Yeah, because he was always really proud of being a Drimoleague and West Cork man. And he was born in his mother's family home in Glamnaclucky. But the family were actually living in Cork City. His mum and dad had already moved to the city, and they were living on the north side. And his mum went home to have her babies. So then when he was maybe about 14, she took him to the Crawford to ask could he do night classes. And they said, no, he's too young, come back next year. He was 15, because there was an age limit of 15. So she brought him back the next year, and he was at this stage an apprentice draper, because he came from a pretty poor kind of background and couldn't go on in school. So he did his night classes while he was working. And then at about the age of 19, he went full-time stay student in the Crawford. And then his teachers in Crawford spotted his talent and encouraged him to apply for the Taylor Scholarship, which was the biggest scholarship in Ireland at the time. So he applied for this and he won in 1939. And so this was a huge thing for him because he could go to third level education. I think he was probably the first person of his family who would have gone to third level. So he went up to Dublin, studied in the Metropolitan Art School with Sean Keating and Maurice McGonigal. And this was the following year in 1940, he won the Taylor Prize. And then he came back to Cork in 1940 and started as full-time teacher of painting in Crawford.
And he was the main full-time teacher of painting at Crawford for the rest of his career.
Yeah, he was,
And in fact, the only full-time. And this would have been at Emmett Place before the Crawford moved across the river.
That's right.
So your dad and mom lived in Cork.
Farley Park.
And you grew up in a household where making art was sort of a normal process.
Yeah.
But you told me the other day that your dad didn't really teach you.
No, it was just all around us.
Yeah.
You know, it was just part of everyday life, really. And my parents were very encouraging. They thought, making art or making music. My brother's a musician, and we were always encouraged to do things that were artistic.
Yeah.
And this was more important than anything. It was more important than making money, more important than, anything else. They were completely focused on, it was always books and art books and piano and instruments. And I remember in our front room there was a drum kit because my brother's band used to practice there. So everything in the house centered around art and
expressing that. Yeah. And then your own development as an artist. When did you decide you were going to be a painter? I know you were doing creative things, but you weren't always a painter, were you?
No, but when I was there was a little sketch of my father's, which I found of me dressed as an artist. wearing a long shirt of his and my mother's blackberry and a hat. I used to dress up as an artist. And I used to do dad. With my friends. Dad was always drawing. Standing there with a sketchbook and at any family gatherings, he'd be in the corner sketching away, doing things, or everywhere when we were out on trips or anything. So I would be behind him like typical child, doing dad. And I learned that way, I think, as well. Because I learned the hand actions. Yeah. I remember how he used to line up a shot, so to speak. He'd have a sketchbook like this, and he'd be looking, and he'd be moving the hand in the air, and then he'd just go for it. And so I would be behind him doing the same thing. But, you know, this taught me arm movement and such things.
Yeah, the kind of physicality of making. But what that also seemed to be about, and I think you can see it at all the different work around here, was almost recording your life. What you saw, what you were experiencing. You weren't sitting in a studio, neither one of you were just sitting in a studio saying, I'm going to make a nice painting. You were reacting to the environment that you were in, and you were making images about that environment. Your father even went so far as being influenced by television. Painting Park Bequeath there on the far right on that wall is an extraordinary painting about what many people's lives are about. Watching television, watching sports on television. And I don't think I've ever seen a painting quite like that. That's really remarkable. And I think the same kind of almost documentation shows up in your work a little bit too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose a sense of marking time in a way. That's kind of what you're doing as well. Kind of a lot of, I suppose, a sense of time passing and recording things. I suppose it's.
Now, you said as a child you did dad, but when did you start painting?
Oh, I was painting very early. I was paint box when I was a child. I was always painting. Dad, I mean, we didn't have formal lessons, but I just remember Dad always saying to me, wash your brush, you know, between colours. Always wash your brush. And because children tend to just go in from one colour to the other. So that was one of the tips I got from an early age, keep your colours clean. And then he would say, take your time, not so fast. But I ignored that. Basically tell me. I just learned the importance of drawing very much, and then I was dying to get my first oil paints, of course. Finally I managed to give me them at 12. So, as you moved into adulthood, did you go to art school? Yes, I did. I had the privilege of being expelled from Crawford. So it was difficult. I found it very difficult to conform to, because my art education had been very free and had been very open-ended. I found it very difficult to conform to the rigidity of assessments and having to justify myself. I found that very difficult. And I was I was a rebellious person. I wasn't used to having to deal with, my father was never authoritarian, and I wasn't used to dealing with this. I didn't like people analysing my mind and stuff. So anyway, I put cartoons about the system, and I was very rebellious, and they told me conform or get out. So I took the latter route. But I have no regrets for that, because I felt at least I was able to sort of develop my own way of going independent of the art world and what's in and what's not in. You know, so for me, I think it was a better thing. I went to university after that, and I found it great. I found it a breath of fresh air. Actually, I enjoyed studying English and Anglo-Saxon and history. So, but you're not totally on teaching. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But you didn't stay in Ireland long after your education, did you? I worked as an actor for about 2 or 3 years in the Graffiti Theatre Company in Cork, and then I moved to Berlin.
And why Berlin?
Berlin would, I suppose the simple answer would be love, but that's probably boring. I What I should say is I went there for the culture, of course, because I was very heavily influenced by the German expressionists. So I was delighted to, and also my studies of history, I was very interested in the Wall and the divided city.
So you went to Berlin in the 70s, before
No, the 80s. Yeah.
before the wall came down,
Yeah.
before the art scene in Berlin had become so hip. Yeah. So you maybe influenced or had a part of that, of being part of an emerging art wave in Berlin.
Certainly in Neukölln, the area where I live, where my flat is, this was a really kind of run-down area, and I loved it. People would say to me, "Oh, when you're moving out, you know, it's known as the Bronx of Berlin."
Yeah.
But now, so many artists then moved there that it's now become completely hip, and this is a sort of
Gentrified.
bone of contention with all the artists who now want to go.
Yeah.
Their rents are high.
It happens in all great cities. Artists are often the pioneers to move into places that everyone else doesn't want and show how attractive and wonderful they are, and before they know it, they can't afford to live there.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So you've recently come back to West Cork.
That's right, yeah. Myself and my partner, Douglas, we bought a former pub in Dribble, which is amazing because my father was from Dribble, and so we're kind of back there. We're delighted to have the chance to also bring the work back to Dribble, and we're using the opportunity of it being a former pub to put on little mini exhibitions. And while we're on the subject, I would like to invite everybody over to Dribble next Saturday to see Affinities 2 and have a guided tour, if you like, because I'm putting up another selection of work in our pub on Main Street.
Fabulous.
It's not a pub.
Fabulous. This will be a great addition to Dribble.
Yeah. So 2:30 if you want to come along for a guided tour.
Good.
On the 2nd.
That's next Saturday.
Next Saturday is really for
You've all been
another
notified. Okay. Well, you mentioned that your father said don't muddy your colors.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that struck me when I first saw this body of, or two bodies of work, is how congruous they are from a palette point of view. There are so many overlaps as far as the use of color and whatever. You mentioned that you were influenced by or really loved German expressionism. How do you think through the use of color, particularly as you see your work change over the arc of your career?
Yeah, well, colour is a very volatile substance or thing. I don't paint to a formula with a certain palette, although there are some favourite mixes and stuff, but I'm always trying to surprise myself. So when I go out to paint, I go out to the landscape or out into the day, it's a very emotive thing, colour. So you're influenced by your own feelings of harmony or disharmony, by the colour of what you're looking at, and by the light, which is a big thing. And the Irish light is great for bringing up colour because it's so diffuse. I find the light in Germany very harsh and very, you can see where the expressionists came from with their woodcuts and things, because when the light is in Germany, it's very harsh and casts shadows. In Ireland, it's constantly reflecting up and down from the sky to the sea and back up again.
It bounces.
And so all these things affect the colour, and because I'm always trying to surprise myself, I'm always trying to make a new colour scheme or a new combination, and the combinations are endless of colour. There are absolutely infinite combinations. And sometimes, if I'm not in harmony, then you will have terrible colours, and I just can't believe what comes out so bad, you know? So, I mean, you see the ones on the wall, you see are the ones that I deem successful. But when you're painting in this sort of intuitive manner, you have a huge high failure rate. And like colours, the sort of thing that drives you mad. Like drove rock out the window, you know. So it is a very volatile thing. But I know it.
Like the German expressionists, do you almost feel like there's a language of color, that different colors mean certain things, or carry certain emotional energies and others?
For sure, yeah. I mean, red is obviously heated colour, but not only the colours themselves, the combinations are very, are very positive.
Yeah,
they have a motive.
Yeah.
Have a motive. So
Yeah. The other thing we talked about yesterday is sort of the physicality of making and how rhythm or a rapid series of marks is something that you sort of almost intuitively want to work with.
Yeah, it has to swing. I have to kind of have a rhythm when I'm painting. Because if I don't, it goes dead.
Mm-hmm.
And on the days when I'm feeling tired or something, I can't just sit sort of paint like this and sort of colour in. I have to be painting with a sort of a rhythm, like so it's like this kind of. And the canvas is very like a drum, actually.
Huh.
I mean, I play drums. I have a number of drums myself, and the actual structure of it, of stretched canvas, is very like a drum. And I need that kind of rhythm and two strokes. And if they don't have that, then the painting goes dead for me. And I can feel it some days I don't have the rhythm.
Do you generally work on canvas, or do you sometimes work on board?
I love wood as well, yeah.
But it's a different sound.
It is, yeah. I don't know what sound, it's more like just the...
Or it fights you back differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's bounce.
Yeah. If you were to sort of briefly summarize what's different about your work from your dad's, or what's similar about your work from your dad's, is there anything you would want to add to our conversation?
I suppose just simply we're from a different generation, I suppose.
Yeah.
My father was very religious for a start. That was a very big component of his work, and I'm not. I'm an atheist, but that's also only a belief like anything else, I suppose. So that would be a difference. But otherwise, I'd let people decide that for themselves, really.
Do any of you have any questions you'd like to ask? Good. Well,
if anybody wants to ask questions, I'd be quite happy to answer them privately. My brother is also here, and I'm sure he will be happy to answer questions as well, because he lives with paintings also. And he's got a few blank spots in his room at the moment, but so we're both happy to answer any questions you might have informally about the work.
good. And don't forget, next Saturday at 2:30 in Drively.
Affinities 2.
Affinities 2, if you want to come back and see an expanded second version. I want to congratulate you, Donald. This is a fabulous discovery for a lot of us. I was talking to Anne earlier and saying how exciting it is to see new work in a kind of conversation you don't often get. I hope you will tell your friends, come see this. This is a fabulous show. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to a big thank you to Anne and West Cork Arts Centre for